Hi, Baconhair Animated here. Today, I am going to tell you the story of Kissy Missy. Like, subscribe, and comment to share our videos. One summer day, when nothing foretold troubles, monster Kissy Missy climbed out of a hatch near the school and, hiding behind the bushes, began to make her way to the school playground in order to steal a child. But a passing police patrol saw this and reported it to the commander of the Police Monster Hunter Squad. The hunters immediately drove to the scene of the crime. Meanwhile, Kissy Missy had already grabbed the student and began to drag him to the open hatch.
Stop!
The children nearby saw it and started screaming and throwing stones at Kissy Missy.
Ow, ow! Get out of here, Kissy Missy!
This restrained the monster a little.
Stop, you creature of the night!
Kissy Missy continued to drag the student to the hatch. But then the police arrived, detained the monster, and freed the child. The hunters put Kissy Missy in a car and brought the monster to the police station, locked it in a special titanium cage, and left it to an armed policeman to guard. When the hunters left, Kissy Missy did not miss the moment and immediately spoke to the guard.
Hey! Look, I can make you rich.
The guard looked at the monster mistrustfully and said nothing.
Let's make a deal. I provide you with $1 million, and you open the cage. All you need is to call my boss and demand the ransom.
In the end, the guard agreed and called the main monster. The main monster, Huggy Wuggy, was at that moment in the main room of the abandoned factory dungeon, which was connected by tunnels with the dungeons of other abandoned factories. This network of dungeons was located all over the city. All of these dungeons were inhabited by other monsters. All of them were watched by other cooler monsters using cameras and computers. Huggy Wuggy himself lived in a special room. Huggy Wuggy listened to the policeman and replied that he needed to think. Hanging up, he ordered all the monsters to gather in his room. When everyone was ready, Huggy Wuggy began his speech.
Unfortunately, Kissy Missy, my main assistant, was caught by the police and put in a titanium cage. But among them, there is a traitor who guards this cage and agrees to let her go for a reward of $1 million. What do you think?
The monsters discussed it, and in the end decided that Kissy Missy needed to be rescued. But first, they had to get the money somewhere, and they decided to rob the bank using one secret underground tunnel, which only monsters know about. The monsters immediately armed themselves and rushed through this tunnel to the bank. They arrived at the bank in the midst of a working day. At that time, there were many people in the bank. The bank's clients withdrew money from their accounts and deposited money and jewelry with the bank's employees. As soon as they broke into the bank, they killed 2 guards and ordered everyone to lie on the ground and not move. Otherwise, the monsters would kill them. Then they took everyone's mobile phones. But the head of the bank miraculously managed to press the panic button and notify the police that the bank was under attack by robbers. The monsters pointed weapons at the chief and ordered him to open the safe with money and jewelry. When the head of the bank opened the safe, Huggy Wuggy shot and killed him. Seeing that, the secretary of the head of the bank tried to run away, but the monster caught up with her and kicked her into the wall, and she passed out. The monster quickly put the money in big bags. They counted them right away. There was enough money to redeem their captured friend, but they were still being watched by the police outside. The monsters came up with the idea of how they could quietly free Kissy Missy. It was necessary to distract the attention of the police from Kissy Missy and make sure that all the police gathered near the bank. To do this, the monsters threw all the corpses into the street near the bank door. By this time, journalists from local newspapers, magazines, radio, and television stations of Roblox had already arrived at the bank. Then, the chief of police called the bank to speak with Huggy Wuggy.
What are your requirements? What are you trying to achieve?
We need more money and an armored cash-in-transit vehicle with a full tank of fuel. Otherwise, we will beat and kill the hostages.
And to prove their words, the monsters beat the grandmother. They filmed it and posted it on the internet. Journalists also filmed it, and panic arose around the city. Some people locked houses, locked doors and windows, hid under beds, and hid money and jewelry, fearing monster attacks. Others, on the contrary, ran out into the streets with clubs to fight the monsters. The police chief replied that he needed time to fulfill the monsters' conditions. Huggy Wuggy agreed because that was exactly what the monsters needed, to play for time. The police chief ordered all police officers to come to the bank, and they immediately drove off, while the monsters, meanwhile, began to kill all the other hostages.
Just don't shoot. We don't need to call the assault on the bank ahead of time.
But we've already brought in enough police officers. Maybe we'll go to the police station to free Kissy Missy. This was all heard by a hostage with a severed hand who pretended to be dead so the monsters would not kill him. The monsters left with the loot through the tunnel, and the hostage lost consciousness. The monsters quickly reached the police building and climbed out through the hatch. They paid the police traitor money, opened the titanium cage, and released their friend Kissy Missy. They also disappeared through the hatch into the dungeons and did not kill the traitor policeman because they decided that he could still be useful for them. By the time the police returned, the police traitor had already hidden the money for the betrayal in a prearranged secret stash in the police building, and lay on the floor with a bloody head, pretending to be unconscious. At this time, the hostage with a severed hand regained consciousness. Crawled to the door of the bank and called for help. When the police chief ran to him, he told the police chief officer everything he'd seen and heard. The police immediately rushed to the police station, but it was too late. When they entered the room where the cage was, they saw only a bloody guard,
What?
an open and empty cage, and an open hatch in the floor of one of the rooms. The policeman understood everything, jumped into the open hatch, and rushed off in pursuit of the monsters. After the monsters freed Kissy Missy, they returned to their hideout through the tunnels. They were immediately informed that the video cameras of the tunnel filmed monster hunters following them. Some monsters began to panic.
We must leave the dungeon as soon as possible.
Yes.
Many agreed, but then came up with another decision.
No, let's hide in the secret bunker of the dungeon. They won't find us there, and we will calmly wait there until the hunters leave the dungeon.
As a result, the monsters were divided into two groups. Some, as they planned, fled, while others turned off the light and all the electricity and hid in their secret bunker. Those monsters that left the dungeon crawled out through a hatch and turned out on the surface near the gas station. There, they saw that a minibus, already filled with gasoline, had stopped near the gas station store.